And there we are. All right. So I know, guys, that I always start these meetings with, I'm so excited about this meeting. Um, while I am so excited about this meeting, this incredible masterclass, I'm actually at a far different place than just being excited about this meeting. The bottom line is, I have been at the weight loss and wellness game for a really long time. 1982, matter of fact, is when I started in weight loss, March of. And then I went into fitness in April of 82. And then in 1986, I became a franchisee in a weight loss business, which then made me a business owner. I would go on to start several of my own companies and create a lot of programs, a lot of products. And this is not about me. This is about you. The reason I'm telling you this history is because the one thing that got to me, and I mean it got to me emotionally, personally, was that the regain weight or the regain rate of people who lost weight would always be right around 96, 97%. That meant 3 to 4% of the people that lost weight or attained any wellness results would maintain them. And I hated that. And it got to the point that I hated it so much that I was abhorrent about it. Now, I get it. We're all human beings. We all make our own choices. So it wasn't like my fault, quote unquote. Our programs were amazing. People got incredible results with our programs. But I still wanted to be a difference maker. I still wanted to figure this out. Well, in a lot of years of participation and training and experience and knowledge gathering and certifications and you name it, I realized that personal development and life coaching and situations like that, mindset and subconscious mind, behavior and habits, that was what was going to change everything. Well, quite honestly, that sounds a little daunting. So we created a life coaching certification that made it a whole lot simpler. And we are very proud of that. We figured out what 7 motivation assassinators were in place that would cause a person's motivation to go missing. And it was good. It was really good. And I worked with a really fun, beautiful, smart, incredible person who you're going to meet here in a little bit when we put our certification together. But as life would have it, things occurred that, sometimes we're aware are going to happen and sometimes we're not aware are going to happen, and things changed. We then moved on into the 2030 program that many of you are a part of, the Listen to Your Body program that many of you are a part of. And I realized that this piece was still missing. So when I went back and looked at reintroducing this piece, I found out something that I've not known before. So let me go back and say something one more time. 1982 is when I got into the weight loss business. 1986 is when I became an owner. We have just uncovered something that I think is going to be a game changer in the entire weight loss world. And that is the reasons people quit. There are 3 checkouts that occur, and you don't really know when these are coming. You can learn how to spot them. You can learn how to figure out if they're coming at you, and they have come at you before. See, the reason you've quit any program you've ever started before is because of 1, 2, or all 3 of these checkouts. And they're astoundingly easy to learn. And as we teach through them today, you're going to go, oh my gosh, that is right. That's what happened to me. Now, here's the thing. If you can identify, be aware of them, and then identify when they're showing up, you can know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're going to keep your weight off for the rest of your life. Now, that was in my promotional video, right? I said, can you be 100% certain that 30 days from right now, you're going to be following this plan? How about 3 months from now, 6 months, a year? Can you be 100% certain that 1 year from now, you're going to be living this amazing new lifestyle, feeling incredible, keeping your weight off? How about for the rest of your life? Can you be 100% certain? Now, if you're honest with yourself, as I would be, we would respond 100%. Is there a way to be 100% certain? Well, yeah, there is. There is a way to be 100% certain. It's becoming aware of these 3 checkouts so that you can figure out when they show up in your life so that you can understand how to overcome them. So very briefly, let's talk about exactly what these 3 checkouts are. Now, there's a mental checkout. The mental checkout, which we're going to go deep into here in a second, is when you participate, when you attend, or you appear to engage, but you're not really doing all the work. Go through the motions. You do the work halfway at best, but you're not really tied into the goal. You've done something, in other words, you think you should do. When you mentally check out is when this is occurring. You're not completely plugged in. I know that I've done that in certain cases in my life, and we'll talk about those today. The emotional checkout is when you've invested time, money, and effort, but you're not seeing the changes you want to see. So you begin to kind of take a I don't care approach, and you emotionally check out. The physical checkout is a combo of those two. It's when you simply stop participating, you quit. 3 checkouts. Very simple to understand. And what's even more important, as we help you become more and more aware of them, you're then going to begin to figure out how they're showing up in your life, when, under what circumstances, and you're going to be able to beat them. So I mentioned before, she's brilliant, she's beautiful, she's fun, she's funny. I said brilliant, so that covers smart, but she's kind of like brilliant and smart. Katie and I came across each other's paths over a decade ago. And I knew when I met her, I had somebody on my hands I felt like was kind of dropped in my lap from God, who was really going to take to this information. We were working with an incredible master life coach at the time to create our life coaching certification. And she began to get involved in that. And the more she got involved in it, the more her expertise grew rapidly and astoundingly. So today, I am thrilled to introduce you guys to Katie Woodhall. She's back to help us re-engage our life coaching program, but starting with these 3 checkouts, which is going to be the difference maker for you. If you've ever started any kind of program and quit, this is going to be a difference maker for you. And then our life coaching certification, we are reinstituting as well. And Katie will be involved in that also. So live up to that, Katie Woodhall, because now we need you to tell us a little bit about you.
Hi. So it's good to be here. It's good to see everybody here. So like she said, I've been professional life coaching for over 10 years. And the beautiful thing about life coaching is it literally can be used to accomplish any goal. Weight loss especially is a fantastic thing to implement with life coaching, because mindset is the foundational piece really of accomplishing any goal. It's like the right order. A lot of times we get so focused on what we need to do that we forget how we got here to begin with. So unfortunately, it's the piece that's usually overlooked. So what I always tell people is, if you want your outer game, which is your actions and your habits, if you want your outer game to be strong, it has to start with your inner game, because your inner game is what leads you into your outer game. So my passion, my purpose is to help heal the minds, bodies, and spirits of as many people as I can in this lifetime. And my avenue is through coaching.
So let's just talk real quickly, Katie. Why did we decide to start with the topic of checking out?
Well, those 3 checkouts really put into perspective the mentality of that somebody has when they're trying to accomplish any goal, especially again, weight loss being totally relevant to this. So the thing, I think why we chose to use these is we have all been there. This is so relatable to everybody. And when you know that process is beginning, is because that motivation all of a sudden isn't coming as easy or as natural as it did in the beginning. That's your first cue that something's shifting, something in your mindset is shifting. And that's where you're entering that mental checkout.
Okay, so let's talk mental checkout, you guys. Now, keep in mind what Katie just said is if you've been on any weight loss program, started a supplementation plan, started an exercise plan, anything that you were really excited about, genuinely excited. I mean, you wanted to achieve the goal, but then somewhere down the way, you found yourself disengaging. You found yourself not as interested. You might have even found yourself saying, I don't care anymore. That's one of your cues. That's your mind talking to you going, alert, 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 there's a checkout coming, right? So let's talk first specifically about the mental checkout. Katie's going to go over exactly what it is. And then we're going to kind of go back and forth here because I said, look, Katie, we've got some incredible people from across the nation that tune into these master classes, and I want them to really understand what this is. So I want them to have examples. So I gave you, an overview, a light definition. Looks like you're participating, looks like you're attending, looks like you're taking part, but you're not really applying, or you're not applying all the way. So Katie, give us a little bit deeper dive about what does it look like when I mentally check out?
Okay. So it's the beginning of a very slippery slope. Okay. Now, the great news is it can be stopped if you're aware of it and you know what it looks like, and especially if you know what it feels like. So like Donna said, it's when you start to not take the goal as serious as you did before. And especially with holidays and parties and all of these events coming up, I think it becomes easier for this to happen. So I think that's another reason we wanted to do this now, is because this is a perfect appearance for it to come in at this point. So to get a little bit deeper with it, mental checkout, in a really simple way of defining it, is when you're half doing something. You're just kind of half doing it. You're tiptoeing. It could look like you've made up your mind, you bought this bright new shiny piece of exercise equipment, or you bought these amazing products that you feel are going to help you. And they're still in the box, or they're still in the cellophane, or you bought that gym membership, but you haven't really got around to using it yet. So what's actually going on a deeper level is that we're starting to justify reasons to put this off, okay, or to not do it as much. Maybe you set that goal, I'm going to work out 3 times a week. That's what I have to do. I know that has to happen in order for me to hit XYZ. But maybe you can only make yourself go maybe once a week. So what it sounds like, the thought would be, I really want to exercise, but this week is just so busy. I've got people coming in, I've got all this stuff planned. I'll just start next week. I'll start next week. Or, again, you've got those products, and well, it's kind of the middle of the week. I'll just start Monday. So what you're really kind of doing, because remember, I really emphasize what it feels like. You're trying to get rid of the feeling of guilt, pressure, or dread. Those are the feelings that are heavily associated with the mental checkout. So in other words, you feel guilty if you know you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So the way to get rid of that guilt is to kind of not make it so much of a goal right now. But the big thing to keep in mind here, what makes mental checkout different from the rest of them, is that you still want to accomplish the goal. You still are attached to that goal and you want to see it happen.
So I've got a couple of observations, and then Katie, I want to ask you a question. Okay. So I want you guys to realize when Katie's talking about what it feels like, you got to think about the past when you've been on a weight loss program or wellness program, supplementation, exercise, whatever the case might be, any goal for that matter. And you could feel yourself starting to stop. So when she says dread, guilt, pressure, thank you. So Katie said pressure, guilt, or dread. What I'm going to tell you is it may not feel that heavy at first. It may just feel like, I don't really know what to do, or this doesn't really work in my life right now. It's better if I put it off. So pressure could be, this is probably what I should do, but I have a justification for not doing it. And my justification is a reason. It feels legit. So that's a lighter version of pressure. Okay. Dread could be, I don't really know what to do, or I don't have the right circumstances or the right stuff around me. So there again is my justification, my reason for not doing it. So that's a lighter version of dread. And guilt is really more, I know I should, but it's not working out for me right now. Or my gosh, it's the holidays, or it's vacation, or it's a reunion, or it's whatever. So again, keep in mind that pressure, guilt, and dread, those are heavy. And that's a root reason, but you're not necessarily going to feel dread. It's going to be a lighter version of that. So let me give you an example. Now, this is an off example, not weight loss or wellness, but I know you're going to relate. So I have, over my career, invested in a lot of training, a lot of marketing training, business training, mastermind groups. And in the world of mastermind groups, that's a very, very, very expensive investment. And I would get around incredibly smart people who had achieved amazing things. And they all had something to bring to the table, something that I wanted to learn. So I would purchase the stuff and I would pay to be in the mastermind group, and I'd get all around them and I'd be gathering the knowledge and taking notes. I mean, I wanted to achieve the goal that I had signed up to achieve. But once I would leave the meeting or the encounter with them, at most, I would plug in a little bit. I would do some of it. And that's an example of a mental checkout. See, I wanted the goal, and that's what Katie's sharing with us. You don't have an emotional checkout until you're telling yourself you don't want the goal anymore. So think about your weight loss goal, your wellness goal. You don't have an emotional checkout until you're telling yourself you don't want the goal anymore. But you could have a mental checkout when you start to see yourself not doing the work. And again, you could have every reason under the sun that feels totally justified. Monday makes more sense. I've got people coming over. I don't really have all my ingredients yet. Oh gosh, I'm kind of hungry. This feels hard. Ooh, this feels too much like another program. The mental checkout will come with reasons that you're coming up with to not do the plan. Now, again, what's really important and what's so cool is when you start to learn how these things have shown up in your life repeatedly over and over again, there are signs, there are cues that you can watch for to learn how they've shown up in the past for you. But I'll bet what we're sharing with you right now is enough information for you to start to be aware. And that's the goal of today's class, for you to start to be aware. Now, Katie, you told me about an example, a very specific example. Katie has a very specific weight loss example to help you understand of a person who went through a mental checkout. Can you share that one?
Absolutely. Okay, so I just met this lady recently, and she shared with me that she wanted to lose weight because she wanted to it was more about preventative health. She had some really minor kind of health issues, skin issues, stuff like that, but nothing major yet. But it ran heavily in her family, heart attacks and strokes and like the bigger stuff. So that was her main kind of focus. Okay. So she decided she was going to do something about it. She bought the products, they shipped to her door, and I believe they showed up on either a Tuesday or Wednesday. I can't be sure which day, but it was early in the week. And she said, it's just too hard to start in the middle of the week. I'm just going to start on Monday. That's your first sign. So Monday comes, but so does the old habits. Okay. So she opens the box. She starts taking some of the products. And on her way home, when she was going to go home and cook a healthy dinner, which was part of that program, she decided to just swing through fast food, which is her habit. That's what she does pretty much every day. She told me she lives off fast food, and decided she didn't really feel like cooking. And she was too tired in these things. And, but at least, hey, I'm doing something, I did some of the products, whatnot. So this behavior continued. It happened the next day. It happened the next day. And then she got an invite to go out of town with some friends. And she ended up doing that and said, you know what, I really just want to enjoy myself while I'm out of town. I'll just start this program back on Monday. So in my opinion, from hearing these facts, the mental checkout started before the box even arrived. Because as soon as she ordered it, now there was the pressure to actually do it when it came. And she started building that dread of, oh man, now I'm going to have to change this. I'm going to have to change this. How am I going to fit all this stuff in? I don't really like to cook. What am I going to do about that? And she put her focus in an area that killed motivation instead of build it. And the mental checkout began before the box even got there.
So I picked up a few words as Katie was sharing with you. These are key, 3 words. If you put off starting. I used to teach, oh my gosh, I was speaking globally, and this was part of my core message. I would teach that you've got to be willing to start now, just this once. It's a mind game that you play with yourself. And the only difference, the common denominator of success is that people who succeed are willing to do the things that people who don't have success are unwilling to do. So it's if you catch I'll put off starting, those 3 words, as part of your mind talk, or maybe even part of what you're saying out loud, that's a cue you're mentally checking out. Now, again, what you really want to do is be aware, but then what you want to do is go deeper to find the patterns of where this has shown up. And there are patterns for every one of us, and they're different for every one of us. So the mental checkout might be put off starting, but the mental checkout might be put off continuing. Keep in mind when I said you come up with reasons, and if we go deeper in a life coaching sense, they're justifications, but I don't need you to think about that right now. I just need you to think about the word reasons that you're not engaging, reasons that you're not following through, reasons that you're not applying the plan to get to the goal. Those are all examples of mental checkout. Have you experienced any kind of mental checkout? Go ahead and put it in the comments. Have you experienced, or what kind of experience? Or if you've experienced a mental checkout, give me a nod, give me a thumbs up, that you know this has been something that has hindered you in the past. Now, why is it important for you to comment? Why is it important for you to share? Because becoming aware is how you overcome this thing. Now, we've talked about mental checkout quite a bit. Let's begin to talk about emotional checkout, because emotional checkout is, quite honestly, bigger. Emotional checkout is where you get to the point where you tell yourself the goal no longer matters. So, Katie, let's jump into some examples of emotional.
So what I need everybody to kind of grasp at this point is it's a progression. Okay. So in other words, if there's not this immediate shift in our thinking to get rid of those, like Donna said, those lesser emotions, because I don't know, the example that I shared with you, I don't even know if she would have been aware that she was dreading it. I know that would have been root cause, but again, it might have been so light that she not even be aware of that part. So the thing is that it's a progression. So if there's not this immediate shift, it goes right into the next one. So in other words, this is where the emotion that you will be conscious of comes into play. This is where it gets a little heavier. So now we start thinking about all this money, this time, this energy. Even if we're only kind of half doing it, we still spent all the money that it took to get there. We still were putting aside some kind of time to think of it. It still feels like effort and energy. So we start thinking about all that and go, you know what? I'm not getting what I wanted out of this. Even again, if it's our fault, doesn't matter. We still don't like that feeling. We still don't like feeling like it's a unworthy investment of any of those things. So we get to that, like Donna said, that I don't care approach. So really what we're struggling with is, how do I get rid of these emotions? How do I not feel like this anymore? Because I don't want to carry around this anger or this frustration or this resentment. So really we're left with 3 options, okay? Option number 1, I shouldn't say never, rarely exists because people don't know how to do what they don't know how to do. So option 1 is that they go, I haven't really been doing this. I need to shift my mindset, need to start building some motivation and get out of this checkout. That usually doesn't happen because people aren't aware. The second option is, again, I have to get rid of this emotion. So I can either take the ownership, but in a self-defeating negative way, which is like beating yourself up. Or I can cast that blame outside of myself. So I'll give you an example of what that would look like. So if we're beating ourselves up, it could be, I do this every time. Every time I join a program, I stick to it for whatever length of time, and then I just lose motivation and go right back to where I started. I just not cut out for this kind of thing. I don't have what it takes. So it's some kind of self-talk of, I'm not capable for whatever reason. That's the beating yourself up. And I've never seen that work for anybody. It's not a good tactic. So the other option is to cast that blame outside of ourselves. So we go, this program just isn't for me, or these calls just aren't helping. And we try to find, again, reasons as to why we're not getting the result. Okay. And so once that emotion starts to build up, because again, remember I say it's a progression, you've already mentally checked out. Now you've emotionally checked out. There's only one thing left to do. You physically check out. And once you've physically checked out is when you use the words, I quit. I'm not going to go there anymore. I'm not going to do this. So the physical checkout is now where we have decided to quit because, okay, so I think this is the meat and potatoes of that talk is I got all these negative emotions. I don't want to feel like this. I have to get rid of them. So I've attached these negative emotions to my goal. So what becomes the problem in my mind is the goal. That's where it gets dangerous, because then the only thing you can do in your mind to feel better is to get rid of the goal altogether. When that happens, it only works for so long, because you got to remember, you started this program for a reason. Those reasons aren't going away just because you quit. So at first it feels good, like, relief. I don't have to feel angry. I don't have to feel frustrated. I don't have to feel like I'm wasting my time or effort or energy. So at first you get this little bit of relief until all those reasons start showing back up again. So maybe, with the holidays coming up, you're going, I just want to enjoy the holidays. I want to go and eat what I want to and not worry about these things. So again, at first it's that benefit, it's that relief until the day of the party. Maybe you get out of the shower and you see your image in the mirror and you don't feel good. Self-esteem hit right there. Then you go to try on those pants and that outfit that you bought a month ago when you were losing weight and it doesn't fit anymore, does not look like it did in the beginning. Self-esteem hit. So you end up showing up to the party already not feeling good about yourself. You sample the whole spread. Now you're tired, you're exhausted, and all you really want to do is just go home. So now we're left with another dilemma. We've got two options in our mind at that moment, in that way of thinking. Option one is start this whole vicious cycle over again, or just got to learn to cope. It is what it is. This is what I'm capable of doing. And I just got to learn how to cope with that being a part of me, staying the same. And then the pain of remaining the same eventually becomes too great. Things get worse. You have more and more reasons you want to lose weight. And you finally put your foot down and you say, I'm going to give it another go. But if that foundational piece was never put into place, just expect the same cycle to continue.
So I'm writing notes feverishly here as Katie's talking, guys. Outside or inside yourself. So I want to back up to mental checkout for a second, because the word should shows up a lot in a mental checkout. I should be doing this. People who succeeded were doing that, and I should be doing that as well. This is what my coach or my facilitator is guiding me to. I should have this food. I should have this behavior. So the word should is an indication of mental checkout, and mental checkout comes first because the goal is still desired. Desire is still in place. So you've not completely checked out. But with emotional checkout, what I heard Katie say is it can be inward. It can be to yourself. And a sign that emotional checkout is coming is, I do this every single time. I don't have what it takes to do this. I'm not capable of doing this. So that helps you become aware that an emotional checkout might be coming. Now, like I said, they're different for different ones of us. They're very exclusive. They're very personal. And it's really important for you to be aware first, but then also understand what's that pattern looking like? What are those cue words for you to help you understand how to overcome it? I know a lot of you, I appreciate so much you guys are sharing in the comments, because you're sharing, oh my gosh, this applies to me. I know that I've done this. I know that maybe I'm mentally checking out a little bit every day. What a candid, authentic, amazing statement. When we check out a little bit every day, It's the mental checkout. And that means we're participating a little bit less every day. If we let the mental checkout go unchecked, the emotional checkout is sure to follow. Now, keep in mind, the emotional checkout is tied to the goal. It's tied to the desire for the outcome. So that inward blame, if you will, that negative self-talk, I'm not capable, I'm not cut out for this, I always fail, is kind of an indication, right? That, oh boy, the end is coming, because you're now saying, goal's not that important to me. Now, you may not quit yet, or that blame, that outward stuff may occur, and that looks like blame. This program's just not for me. Might work for other people, but it's not for me. So that's putting the accusation outwardly, where the ones we just talked about are putting the accusations inward. But even if you say it's just not for me, now that again can occur in mental checkout, because you're beginning to do less and less and less participation. But all the way to emotional checkout is when you hit the point where, whether this is true or not, you tell yourself it's true, that you just don't care anymore. And you may have used words like that. As I have been participating in things to help me achieve certain goals in my life, I've used those words. I can remember shoving myself back from the table or back from the desk, throwing up my arms, going, I just don't care. I don't care anymore. Now, quite honestly, it always comes back to be not true, because I still want the goal. But in that moment, if I say I don't care, again, I'm giving myself that justification, that reason for getting ready to quit. Takes the pressure off. So let's go back to Katie said there's pressure, there's dread, there's guilt. Those are three heavy negative emotions. Your self-talk may be a lot lighter version of those. But if you get to the point of, I just don't care, this is hard, I can't do this, it's that outward, it's got to be something else, but I don't care about achieving the goal anymore. Now, again, what I'm saying to you is we tell ourselves that, because what ends up happening is another program comes around. Has this ever happened to you? Another program comes around, and what do? We join the program. We buy the stuff, we buy the goods. That's because the goal is still desired by you. So now you might be setting yourself up for another mental checkout, followed by an emotional checkout. And the physical checkout is what comes next. And that's when you just quit. So again, Katie, let's, just for the sake of helping folks really understand and become aware, let's just talk through some of what you have prepared regarding mental, emotional, just that awareness piece of how somebody can go, well, let's do this. Let's go back over history a little bit. Let's go back over this program, and then that program, and this program, and what we've seen people do for years now, with examples of checking out.
So the progression, like what it looks like start to finish. So again, it starts off very tiny little, like she said, those big emotions, but compressed down to itty bitty. So it's a little tap on the shoulder, and those should statements are a perfect indicator. So it's when you catch yourself not just magically feeling motivated anymore. So when usually I call it the bright and shiny, like when you first start something, it's new and it's exciting, and you're all pumped up and you can't wait to do it. And then the reality of the work sets in, and then it becomes a little less shiny. In that frame is usually when mental checkout starts. Okay. But it starts like little level one, and then eventually builds to such a degree that it leads into the next one. So it can start off so tiny. And I think should statements do produce those emotions to some degree. So whenever you catch yourself saying, I should, you need to stop in that moment and go, wait a minute, that sounds like mental checkout. Because in that moment, you are coming up with a reason as why the goal's not that important to accomplish today or tomorrow or until next week. My mother actually works as a weight loss coach, and she read through what I was looking to talk about, and she said, boy, I hear this all the time. All the time. I'll start on Monday. I'll start on Monday. Starting on Monday means you kind of get to do whatever you want, in the meantime. Now, notice I said want. There's a huge difference between want and should. When you're motivated, you say, I want. When you're not motivated, or when it's starting to slip away, is where you start saying, I should. Because what you're really saying deep down, I don't really want to. We always want the result. Man, I'm telling you, if there was a magic pill you'd take and boom, you're, 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds lighter, everybody'd buy it. Because nobody really looks forward to the work, but they want the result. So the big key here is we have to be able to create the kind of feeling that's going to lead us into the action. Because if we don't, that progression continues. That emotion keeps to build. And that's why it's called emotional checkout, is because this is where you actually start to feel it. The first one, you might not feel it. You might just think, like Donna said, these reasons are completely justified. I am truly busy. I am truly stressed right now, and I don't have time for this. Those all feel authentic at the moment. So you may not notice the emotion attached to it, but when you get to emotional checkout, that is literally when you start to feel the pressure, the guilt, those sort of things. And that's when you've entered that next step.
So to help you with awareness, what I'm really hearing, Katie, is that a mental checkout is somehow attached to should. Mm-hmm. A mental checkout is, I'm still kind of going through the motions because this is what I should do, but I'm not completely doing it, right? Where an emotional checkout is more attached, should is a word, emotional checkout is more attached to a feeling. So, and again, deeply, that's pressure, dread, guilt. Could be a lighter version though, because it doesn't usually show up with that heavy stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So guys, you're going to love what's about to happen. I've asked you guys to participate and you have. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just turn this camera towards Katie again, but I'm going to share with her some of what you're sharing right here in the group right now. And you're going to get to experience these major light bulb moments, which several of you are saying, oh my gosh, I'm having them right now. These major light bulb moments to apply to the awareness in your own life with your own program. At the time of the recording, which Katie has already shared, at the time of this recording, it's Christmas. It's the holiday season. So we're all encountering reasons to mentally check out. We're all encountering reasons for, well, I don't really want to do it right now, but I'm doing a little bit of it. A little bit's better than nothing. I mean, at least if I can hold steady and not gain, right? And these are all indications. These are all words that are cues for mentally checking out. So what we're going to do again is I'm going to turn the camera back towards Katie, and I'm going to read some of what you have said so that she can respond. So we're going to kind of go back and forth here, okay? So one member, Katie, is sharing the words that I know I use are, I'm happy with where I am. I don't need to do anything else. Yet I'm feeling some guilt about my daily sabotage.
Oh, I'm sitting here like this, like Donna, like, oh, bring it to me, bring it to me. So here's my question, because coaching has a lot to do with asking questions. If you were happy with where you were at, why did you buy? Why did you buy the program? There has to be something that you want. You might have gotten to a place of, okay, let me explain it this way. Say maybe you started off with the goal of 40 pounds, okay? And you had all these things. Oh, I'm going to look this way and feel this way, and I'll be able to do this, and I'll be able to do that, and all this stuff, right? Well, you may have gotten to 20 pounds and go, that whole list is gone. Time for a new list. It's time for a new list, because here's the thing is if there's 20 more to go, there's 50 more reasons or benefits that you're going to receive. There's a whole new thing that maybe you didn't even wrap your mind around in the beginning. You could just see this much of what was coming, and now that that's there, you don't realize there's this much more, So that would be my question is, if we're okay with where we're at, why did we set the goal the way we set it to begin with?
So guys, I'm going to reiterate something here. You'll find this is a pattern with me. I just heard 5 words. Time for a new goal. Mm-hmm. Now, again, we remember that mental checkout is mental. It's words, it's thoughts, it's things that we say. right? And it's reasons, or if we go deeper, justifications for why we're not going to do something. Where emotional checkout, as we described it early in the masterclass, is, you know what, I've invested my time, I've invested my money, I've invested my effort, and I'm just not getting to where I thought I was going to get to. But what one member shared, thank you so much for sharing, is that I get to a point where I'm kind of happy and I'm ready to what? Quit. That's a sign that it's an emotional checkout. But it may be that the initial goal you set needs to be a bit adjusted because you're closer now. I mean, you didn't know if you could achieve it or not. And now you have gotten down that path of achieving it. But now it may be time to set a new goal that's got a new fired up, burning desire behind it so that you will remember it is still your goal. This really is kind of the perfect description of emotionally checking out. It started with mentally checking out, but now it's emotionally checking out because you're saying, well, I've done pretty good. I'm fine, right? So it's not that you're saying I'm still going to participate. This is an indication that you may be getting ready to quit. Katie's bursting over here. She wants to add something.
I'm like squirming in my seat. Like, I can't wait. I just, something else just came to me too. Okay. So let's go with, you know what? There is no new list. This is exactly what I wanted to achieve. And now I've achieved it. Well, what happens if you quit? Are we magically going to stay in that same spot? Because the thing is, when it comes to weight loss, good Lord, help me, weight loss, is that the work really never changes. Even after you've lost the weight, it might lessen a little bit, but you still have to eat right. You still have to exercise to maintain. And sometimes I think we get to the goal and we go, oh, don't have to do any of that stuff anymore. I made it. But this is a lifelong thing. So now maybe that motivation flips from getting there to staying there. What needs to happen to stay here because I'm so happy with where I'm at? So weight loss is one of those things that if we want to maintain the results that we actually get, the work never really ends.
So some other words that were shared, and again, Sherry, this is specifically you. Thank you so much for your participation. So Katie, this is amazingly transparent. This is a kind of person you would love to work with in life coaching because this person is coachable. So Sherry says, with me, the sabotage, the quitting begins with tiny daily decisions. And I think I've maybe have been a habitual justifier because I make excuses to not fully engage in a new process, or I postpone daily practice. So I want you to think about those two things. One, because this is Sherry's just being transparent for all of us, right? Because it is true that the sabotage, the quitting begins with tiny daily decisions, right? That's amazingly aware. And I've been a habitual justifier. I make excuses to not fully engage in a new process or postpone daily practice. Remember, guys, I told you that I didn't fully engage in applying what I was learning. Well, I had a justification. It was a reason. I didn't have the team. I didn't have the right people. I didn't have somebody who understood what I understood. So I wasn't plugging in what I was paying money and putting effort in to plugging in. So Katie, if we can come back to habitual justifiers, making excuses to not fully engage in the new process, or maybe even the sabotage, the quitting begins with tiny daily decisions. This is all mental checkout, right?
I just want to talk to her so bad. I'm like, pull her up. I want to see her. So Sherry, this is literally for you. I would highly suggest write these two definitions down. There is a huge difference between justifying and rationalizing. And learning that difference will help you with exactly that. It'll be the first step in that process. It's just becoming aware of what the difference is. So rationalizing is when you're willing to bend yourself because you realize you don't fit into reality with what it is you're saying. Because if you break down one of those thoughts, like, oh, I'll just wait till January to start back up. Really, if you break that down, what you're really saying is that it's okay for me to gain all the weight back, all the hard work that I've put through all these other months. It's okay to start all over again. And if you think about it, it's not quite rational. So rationalization is when you go, all right, I'm not really thinking correctly. Let me bend myself so I can fit reality. Justifying is when you are trying to bend reality to make you feel better. So when you know that difference and you can catch yourself going, I'm not rationalizing, I'm justifying. That's your first step. So that's why I was so impressed with your message that you wrote, Donna, is because that's awareness. And when you can see that, then you can't fix what you can't see. You're seeing it. So that's the first step. That's the easiest, most fun person for me to work with ever, is somebody who goes, look, I can see this. Just show me how. It's the most fun ever.
So again, gonna repeat, can't fix. Well, let's go. You can't fix what you can't see. So that's 7 words, right? So reasons people quit were the first 3. Then we went to 5. Now we're at 7. You can't fix what you can't see. The whole goal of today is to help you guys become aware. So becoming aware is the first key to fixing anything. Becoming aware that it has occurred, or maybe even that it is still occurring, but now showing you how to see the pattern. There are cues. There are cues that your life, that your mind, that your words, that your behaviors give you all the time. And what we want to do is help prep you to see the cues, your very personal, specific cues. So we've set up a plan for you guys to be able to participate in a private masterclass where we're going to show you how these patterns not only have been in place, because you've become aware of that now, but how very specifically they show up and what the cues look like. So Katie, as we're kind of beginning to wrap this up a little bit, let's give folks a little bit of help for what the cues are and how we're going to help them understand in more the private masterclass.
Okay. So in the private masterclass, we're going to learn the formula. We're going to learn the formula to achieving any goal, honestly. And I'll even give it to you now, but I'll teach it to you then. Your thoughts create your feelings. Okay, so if we're talking about cues, how are we thinking? How is it making you feel? If it's making you feel a negative emotion, not thinking right. It's literally that easy. So we start to become very aware. If you can, you know what? It's even easier to become aware of your emotions than it is your thoughts. So even right there, there's your cue. How are you feeling? And is it driving you forward or is it making you backslide? If it's not driving you forward, there's no really such thing as neutral either. It's either moving forward or moving back. So there's not really a neutral emotion that I can think of now that I'm thinking about that. So it's either something that makes you feel good and makes you want to do something. See, again, want, not should, or it's making you feel like you don't want to do that. And you got to find a reason to feel okay about that. So if you're looking for a cue, just start paying attention to how you are feeling throughout the day and what kind of emotions that you are, what's the pattern there? What's the pattern there with how you feel when you think about your actual goal? I would say that's your biggest place you can start for looking for cues.
So another great question that we just got, which is actually perfect to tell you about what I want to tell you about. The difference between justifying and rationalizing. And I know that Katie went over that. Any goal that you set, and I know it's particular to us for weight loss and wellness, and it should be because that's what we're doing together. But any goal that you set has got mental components. Again, things you think, words you say, behaviors you display. But the root of what makes us do or not do something is emotional. It's a feeling. And there's really a key basic to the cues that show up in your life. And the key basic is it mental, something you think, words you say, or behaviors you display, or is it emotional? Is it the feeling underneath something? A desire is an emotion. So as we go into teaching you about your cues and how to see emotional checkout or mental checkout showing up in your life, this is literally going to help you achieve any goal you set. So it may be weight loss, it may be fitness, it may be wellness, it may be health and nutrition, it may be learning another language, it may be getting organized in your home, it may be building a better marriage, it may be writing a book, doing better in your career, starting the business. It doesn't matter what the goal is. Once you understand this basic of the difference between understanding mental checkout, which is what I think, again, words I speak or behaviors I display, versus emotional checkout, the feeling, the desire, the why, the belief, which is how we're going to be able to come into the private masterclass and show you your cues, your behaviors. So, how do you get into the private masterclass? The private masterclass is available at Why You Quit. Today, we've talked about reasons people quit. In our private masterclass, which will take place on December the 8th, that's a Tuesday, there will be a recording. So if you are not available, no worries. But in that class, we're going to go into a much deeper dive, very personal, very specific on why you quit. We're going to give a ton of examples of mental checkout, emotional checkout, what it looks like leading up to a checkout, signs regarding words that you say, behaviors you display, or feelings you feel. We're going to be having an exchange with you so you can submit things that you've gone through after Katie asks a question so that we can answer specifically. That's why I did it today. This will be something that you'll be able to have forever because we're going to let you have the recording as well as the transcript that goes with the recording so that you can refer back to it. Our goal today was to help you become aware. Next, our goal is to help you identify when these checkouts are giving you hints that they're going to show up. See, if you have the cues that the checkout is about to show up, you can then assure yourself that you can keep the weight off and stay healthy for the rest of your life because we're going to show you how to identify that the checkouts are showing up. The investment for this masterclass is a mere $19. Why so inexpensive? We wanted to make this available and easy for everyone. And we know that a $19 gift is something that you can gift to yourself and feel really good about not investing this enormous amount of money to get yourself to the point where you can identify that these checkouts are showing up. Now, Katie, can we go over some specific things that folks can expect to experience inside the private class?
Okay, so the private class. So this is where it gets a little bit deeper. So we know that these 3 checkouts are, it's like the big deals, it's when you start going, man, my motivation's starting to slip. You start to feel that on each one of them, and it just progressively gets worse with each checkout. So what the private master class is what even leads up to the checkout. So if we go back another step and we go, what is actually taking place to prevent the checkout from ever even showing up to begin with? So now that we know what the checkout looks like, now there's all those little micro things that are underneath that if we get a handle on those, checkouts never even happen. So it's a preventative thing that will not only show you how to overcome anything that could hold you back from accomplishing any goal, because again, that's the beautiful thing about this, is it's just push repeat. Once you learn this process, you have another goal, you've already got your weight off, you're keeping it off, everything's great there. You can apply this whole process all over again to with anything that you actually want to achieve. So there's things that lead up that even allow the checkout to happen. So if we master all those little things, big things never start to take place. Does that make sense?
So that's what we're going to be doing in the private masterclass, guys. We're going to be talking about, how things show up that are cues to you, that the mental checkout is coming, the little things that Katie's referring to that turn into very big things. So this is why I asked you the question. Can you answer with 100% certainty that you'll keep the weight off and feel fantastic for the rest of your life? Can you answer with 100% certainty that 1 year from now, you'll be following your plan and feeling incredible? Can you answer with 100% certainty that 30 days from now, you'll be doing what you need to do? We know how to help you. It is with understanding why you quit. the personal reasons that you quit. So it is at whyouquit.com, and we'll put the link right here in the comments. Again, most wonderful gift you could give yourself. December the 8th is when the class will take place. And again, there will be a recording. We'll send out information to, noon Eastern time, just like this class, noon Eastern time on December the 8th. And the recording will be available, as well as the transcription that you will be able to have to refer back to. So I'm going to say to you today, invest in yourself. Let's go deeper together. You guys have been amazing during this masterclass, being very transparent and real with each other. I appreciate that so very much. And now we're going to go deeper together, and we're going to get into why we quit, why you quit, why I quit, which is a deeper understanding. Katie, is there anything else you want to wrap this up with and share?
So when we first started, we were talking about the foundation of a goal. Imagine if you're trying to build a house with no foundation. This is the missing link into making this a permanent thing. Because, I don't have any doubt that the majority of you are probably going to lose weight. It's the whole keeping it off. That's what Donna was starting with in the beginning. Is you say 96, 97%, we're gaining it back. This is that piece that not only helps you right now, because some of you are even saying, I'm feeling this right now. I'm feeling myself starting to check out now. So not only does it take you from giving up, which is fantastic all in itself, but it's building that foundation. It's going through the process in the correct way so that you can have a permanent result. And I think that's what makes this so valuable.
So give yourself a gift. Give yourself, give the gift to someone else if you feel like they would benefit as well. It's whyouquit.com. And should you go to that link and there be a bit of a hiccup, because I just put it in the comments and it shared something with me that there might be a hiccup. Should you go to that link and there be a bit of a hiccup, we'll come back and we'll post it in here again. But whyouquit.com is where you want to go to find out this information for your own private masterclass. Let's go deeper into mental checkouts, emotional checkouts, physical checkouts. Lots of examples. You guys will be able to submit your information so we can address it specifically. And we're going to be sharing with you the cues that show up in your own path, in your own journey, in your own behavior, so you can identify it, so you can see it coming, so it doesn't have to get you anymore. The bonuses that will come with this will be the recording, will be the transcription, so you can refer back to, by far, the best $19 you've ever invested in yourself. So together this time, this is Katie and I. Thank you for the time that you shared with us. I'm so excited to go deeper into this journey. See you guys next time. Bye.